Greetings, YouTube. Over the past few years, conservatives have been pushing an agenda of funneling public tax dollars away from public schools and putting them into private religious schools, as well as funding people to homeschool their kids, um, as well as charter schools, I should point out. And my stance is pretty clear. It's in the title of this video, which is not one public dollar should go towards any of these things. Not a cent. Not a cent of tax money should go to charter schools, should go to private schools, religious or secular, or to homeschooling. Your tax dollars should go to public schools. If you choose to not send your child to those public schools, that's on you. That's on you. It is in the public good that the public be educated, which is, of course, why the Republicans are trying to defund the public schools. But in reality, it does you good if everyone around you has at least a GED. Okay? That's important. The more education around you, the better your life is going to be, the longer your life expectancy is going to be, because you are going to have to depend on all the people around you who, if they are poorly educated, may shorten your lifespan. So it's important to remember that it is in your best interest to make sure everyone in the public is well educated. Now, how we get those tax dollars is arguable. Some people don't think we should be using the concept that we do now, which is like based on property taxes, because that means that areas with lower tax collection have poorer schools, and I happen to agree that that's not a great measure of equality. I personally think how you gather the tax dollars are less important. I believe that every single student in America should get the same amount of money dedicated to their education every year. So you put all the tax dollars in one big pool, you figure out how many kids there are with it, obviously having a buffer. Then each child gets that amount of money to make sure that they get a quality education. And places that don't have a lot of money are going to get a major boost doing that. And places that have a lot of money are going to lose money, but they have a lot of money. If their parents would like to dedicate money to their public school education, they can, or funnel it out of their own pockets to give their kids the things that the schools can't, which, of course, the rich parents do anyway. But it would mean that the poor schools would be far better off, and that everyone would be getting a far more equal education, which, of course, is why the Republicans would fight that particular process tooth and nail. But right now in the real world, they're taking tax dollars away from us. They're stealing them from us, and they're funneling them into religious institutions and private school, which don't have to have the accreditation that public schools do. You can be a teacher at a private school and have no credentials whatsoever. Just the school wants to pay you to teach. And homeschooling is just an absolute shit show. Most people who are doing the homeschooling thing are doing it because they don't want their kids exposed to the real world. They are trying to isolate them. And that is one of the tools of an abuser. You isolate your target. You make sure that your target has no access to the outside world. You make sure that they only know the worldview that you are forcing upon them. You control their every thought and action. So homeschooling creeps me the fuck out. I have known one person in my entire life that I trusted to be a person that homeschooled. And they did, in fact, homeschool their kid for most of their education. And their kid is incredibly intelligent and very well off mentally and educationally. And she's doing just fine. My buddy is a small A atheist. He's not anti-theist, but he's an atheist. So he wasn't pushing a religious agenda on his kid. I don't actually know what his daughter's religious position is at this point in life. It's really none of my business. I don't ask my friends what their religions are. Occasionally they'll tell me, and sometimes I can figure it out by myself that they're agnostics or atheists. But I would not be a friend with a person who is an anti-theist. I am friends with atheists, and I have no problem with that. You don't believe? Cool. I may think you're wrong, but I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to try to proselytize to you. It's not my thing. But folks that will, whether you're an atheist, capital atheist, atheist, or you're an evangelical of some variety, That's a problem. And taking public tax dollars and putting them into religious schools or into funding people who want to isolate their kids is also a problem. So yeah, my position is very clear. Not a single penny should go to anything other than the public schools. There's a country out there, and I can't remember what it is. It may be Finland, that everyone goes to the public schools. That's the only option. So because of this, rich people have to invest in their schools to make sure their schools are high quality, so their kids get a high quality education, which means it brings everybody up. A case where the rising tide does float all boats. That's an instant where it works. In America, we don't have that. America right now, you can have schools that have nothing. Go check out the book Savage Inequalities by Kozol, K-O-Z-O-L. One of the most depressing things I've ever read in my entire life. It talks about the inequalities we have in our school systems in America. It's just appalling. It really is. So yeah, we need to make sure our kids have an education. We need to make sure that Republicans aren't taking tax dollars and funneling it into indoctrination methods. So yes, we should fight them on this one, tooth and nail.